Hi guys! Today's video is my favourite YA books or series. You probably know that I don't predominantly read YA, but that doesn't mean I haven't read and thoroughly enjoyed a selection of YA books, and I thought I would share them with you guys. Before I get on with the list though, I did want to maybe suggest something. I thought maybe it might be a nice idea if you're like me and you don't predominantly read YA, you might perhaps want to do a video like this, sharing the YA books and series that you have really enjoyed. And on the other side of the spectrum, if you do predominantly read YA and don't read a lot of adult fiction, maybe you might want to do a video discussing your favourite adult books. If you do film a video like this, please let me know in the comments and I will be more than happy to link everybody's videos in the description bar. I'm going to start with a book that I have never heard mentioned on YouTube before, and that is Roxy's Baby by Catherine McPhail. This is a contemporary book following a teenage girl who has fallen pregnant. She runs away from home and gets herself in quite a scary situation. She is taken in by what seems like a very kind and very helpful household that helps teenage girls who are pregnant and don't want to keep their babies, not saying abortion, but once they've given birth don't want to keep the babies, so they take care of the girls until they give birth and then they find a home for the baby. Everything is not what it seems, and things are not about to go as smoothly for our protagonist and her friends as she might hope. It's very gritty, it's very moving, and on top of that, very mysterious. Next is a series that I was absolutely in love with when I was a teenager, and that is the Sweep series by Kate Tiernan, or published as the Wicca series in the UK. It follows a teenage girl called Morgan who discovers Wicca very quickly into the first book. I don't want to go into too much detail about the plot because very long books and a lot happens even in the first book, so I don't really want to spoil anything. But basically a boy of Morgan's age comes to her high school called Cal, and like I said, he introduces her and her friends to Wicca. It's a mixture of magic, mystery, finding yourself, which I guess all the great YAs are, and mixed in with that a bit of high school, real life, family drama and romance. Morgan still has an ordinary life to lead and ordinary problems, and Wicca becomes something that supports and causes some of these problems. This is one that I wasn't actually sure whether it was a YA series or not, but I looked it up and Goodreads has categorised it as YA, so I'm going to call it YA, and that is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Now this isn't just one of my favourite YA series, this is one of my all-time favourite series, not again just within the fantasy genre, but just of all time. I adore this series. It's by Christopher Paolini and it begins with Eragon. This is a high fantasy series following Eragon and his dragon Saphira. It's full of magical politics and race relations and a little bit of romance, but not a lot, so if you're not into that then don't worry. Perfect for fans of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and dragons in general. Massive fan of dragons myself, and this is just a phenomenal series, and really it's the relationship between Eragon and his dragon Saphira that steals the show. Whilst we're talking about fantasy, I have to mention the Tiffany Aching series by Terry Pratchett. Now this is a series within his Discworld series, like a few of his books, but this is one that's known as his YA series. It's always put in the YA section of the bookshop. As you might have guessed, it follows Tiffany Aching, and the first book in the series is called The Wee Freemen. Tiffany Aching is a young farming girl who quickly learns that she has the witching gene, and she is destined to become a witch from the very first book. In the first book, she starts to learn her craft, but her brother is unfortunately kidnapped by the Queen of the Fae. Now she, with the help of the Wee Freemen, are small pixies, which is a play on the word pixie and the fact that they are stereotypical little Scottish men and women. With the help of them, she must retrieve her brother. Just perfect Terry Pratchett. It's still absolutely hilarious, wonderfully fantastical and perfect for anybody. Next is a YA series that I started only last year when it came out, and that is The Madman's Daughter by Megan Shepherd, the sequel of which came out this year called Her Dark Curiosity. I absolutely adore this series. I really was blown away by the first book, which is a retelling of The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, the sequel being a retelling of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and the third in the series will be a retelling of Frankenstein. So they're kind of 19th century gothic horror YA stories with I must say, a love triangle, and I really enjoy the protagonist Juliet, who I found a really appealing female lead. In the first book, she discovers that her father, who she thought was long dead, is still alive. She hasn't seen him since he was exiled from London from conducting strange experiments on animals, and she is now travelling to see him once more, where he lives amongst a strange native race of people with his assistant Montgomery. I don't think any top YA list would be complete without some John Green in there. I do really like the John Green that I have read so far, and I'm going to mention both of them because I thoroughly enjoyed both of them, and that is The Fault in Our Stars and Looking for Alaska. Both deal with loss and teenagers' experience of loss, how they deal with disease and death, all that mixed in with the teenage experience, and John Green does it really well. He's a really great writer, and I don't think I really need to go into too much detail about these books, but yeah, definitely recommend if you haven't checked out John Green already. Last but not least, I've decided to chuck this in there because I've just finished this series and I really enjoyed it, and it's The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I don't think, again, that I need to go into much detail about this one. It is a YA dystopian where in the first book the protagonist Katniss has to take part in the Hunger Games, an even more disturbing version of reality TV in this dystopian future, where the contestants have to kill each other and only one will survive. I watched the first two films first and decided I would read the book, and I think if you've watched the films but not read the books, I'd highly recommend checking them out. There's a lot more political background to the story, historical background, and a lot more involvement of the protagonists with the sort of revolution engagement with the political system than there is in the movies. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too long. If you think there's any YA books in particular that I would enjoy, then please let me know. And like I said, I'd love if you guys joined in on this little video series and let me know if you film it. I will see you all again very soon. Bye guys!